Hail, hail, the Celtics are here, and we have had match day one of the Champions League. And guys, it did not quite go according to plan. It did not go in the way where we could begin to dream about the rest of the campaign going forward. And we learned a few very important lessons about the squad as a whole from the performance and from the result. Not just about the current standing of the squad, but also the standards of the business that we've been doing in the summer, as well as the outlook for the remainder of the group. At any point in the video today, if you do, laugh. I doubt it. But if you learn or you like something, please do like and subscribe to the channel. We're pushing for 10,000 subscribers, and we cannot do that without your support, guys. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. Now, this was very much a game of not necessarily two halves, but like 3 30-minute different segments throughout the game, where there was lots of different periods of domination for both teams, in which way the result could have went really on a knife edge either way. And I know a lot of Celtic fans were a wee bit worried coming into this game that, Feyenoord are actually a pretty decent outfit. They are a pot 1 team, and this shouldn't be a game that we take lightly, especially away from home in a stadium that they were undefeated coming into this match in the last 18 European games or something like that. Now, I think coming into this game, we did expect that Luis Palma was going to start in the attack alongside otherwise not much of a change, and it would, as the game became closer, it was even more obvious that Lagerbielke was going to be starting over Phillips, just with his ankle injury. It just feels like every defender we gets injured at the moment, which is frustrating. But in the first 30 minutes or so, this is really when Feyenoord were trying to build out from the back, this is the kind of most common kind of shape that we were finding. And we did okay at running a bit of a press and really giving them a lot to think about. But it was clear that between Hanko, Trauner, Gertruida, Timber, and even I would put Hartman into that physically, when these guys were on the ball, we were not moving them. If they were on the ball, it would need to be an interception. It would need to be a wee touch of the ball. We would need to disrupt the travel of the ball between them as they were building up play if we were going to be turning over and we were going to be getting something out of it. And don't get me wrong, a few different times throughout the entire 90 minutes, actually, we did almost get a little bit of fruit for that labour, but it never really amounted to much. And it really did irk me, especially when we found Gertruida really coming into this zone here and really between him and Timber, honestly, if they wanted to get on the ball, nobody, with the exception really of Matt O'Reilly, was going to really be able to do much about it. And because we were committing Rio into the forward press, O'Reilly was just naturally going to be a bit deeper anyway. Stengs, for as much as he's meant to be a creative playmaker guy, I think between him and McGregor, this was one of the real one-on-one battles that we've seen throughout the game that really dictated the tempo of the match and how it went. And I think McGregor acquitted himself very well against a very physically imposing and then when the ball was at his feet, very dangerous creative attacking player for Feyenoord. But they did a great job of just using their physicality, just boxing the game in. And from their point of view, it was about trying to get a couple of passes, move some of our players out of position, and then try and take advantage of some space with even Usyk coming inside quite often, Minty dropping into some different pockets to get on the ball. And Paixão, I thought Taylor had a fantastic game, and Paixão was going wandering because he just couldn't get on the ball. I thought Taylor on and off the ball was very, very good tonight. But the physicality that Feyenoord had, just physically strong all over the pitch, was a real difference in the two teams, particularly in the opening period. Now, one thing I was worried about if we were going to be introducing Palma into the team is that he would be put on the left, and to facilitate that, we would put Daizen Maeda on the right. Now, Daizen's been pretty decent on the right when we had Jota in the team, but we know he's a bit better on the left. The main problem with Daizen that you do have is he does lack a bit of finesse, a bit of technique, but it gives you elite level output in virtually everything else, and I thought he did really good. Now, in this match, I think Hartman versus Daizen was definitely one of the most eye-catching 50-50 duels up and down the pitch when they were trying to build out from the back, and equally when we were trying to get out of our half. This was one of the main duels of the game, and when the substitutions happened later on and Daizen went over to the left, I really felt that was one of the opportunities that we had to maybe get something out of the game later on, because this was clearly their main attacking outlet, and this Hartman guy is elite. It was clear to see he was very strong, very capable, and had, actually good deliveries and stuff like that as well when he was getting into the final third, and he was not going to be thinking twice about Daizen, and he was going to make Daizen think about him. And I thought that was one of the really interesting 50-50s. But the engine we've seen from Hatate maybe in the first kind of 15 or 20 minutes or so, and from Kyogo for the whole time he was on the pitch, gave them a lot of food for thought, gave them a lot of trouble and a lot of problems. And in the first 30 minutes or so, that was a real theme of the game. And it definitely gave me, and probably you guys as well, probably a good bit of hope that we're actually going to get something out of this game. And we just had to actually try and find the wee man, because Kyogo was making so many great runs in between the centre-backs and in between the channels that between Hatate, even Dyson wasn't his selfless self, and one or two other situations that we had, mainly from those two, just the situations we had actually appear in the game. They just never got the wee man. And honestly, I don't think Wellenreuter was challenged at all. I don't think we really got many, if any, shots away of any note. I know Dyson Maeda had the wee right-footed shot thing when he came inside here. But other than that, I don't think we really had much else going on. And Kyogo will really feel aggrieved to not have got a few shots away in the first half there. Now, when we get into that middle 30-minute segment, like the game was really kind of going back and forth. You know, they were getting into our final third and creating some opportunities for themselves. And I thought, really, to be honest with you, across the full game that they played together, we played under pressure pretty well, and I think in a lot of good occasions we managed to actually get out of trouble. We managed to break out of the crowd quite a few times, and we managed to travel and progress up the pitch, you know, in that kind of middle 30 segment. And, you know, it felt like definitely there was two teams involved in the match, but we were still coping well under pressure, and we were still just making the wrong decisions once we crossed the halfway line, which was unfortunate. The free kick kind of sucker punch goal right on half-time was a real sucker punch, and it really was a wee bit reminiscent of the Derby game. Obviously, we got our goal in the 47th minute, and it really did take the kind of wind out the sails of, you know, the tie, how the game was going in terms of the ebb and the flow. They were definitely scoring that goal against the grain of the overall first half performance, it's safe to say. But we really did feel, and when we came out after half time, that the game was lost, in my opinion. You know, it did really feel that a lot of the guys, Tati especially, like just had ran out. They'd absolutely ran out of steam, ran out of gas. And that's, again, the physicality of Feyenoord really did start to control and ebb and flow in the game. And as we start to make substitutions, of course, we can talk about Lagerbielke's second yellow card being unjust. Odenholm, you can talk about that red card as well. Their second goal doesn't come until we go down to 9 men. They've put the ball in the back of the net 3 times, twice. The VAR has obviously got it off for offside correctly, which is great. But at that point in 9 men, it is definitely game over, contest over. But the second half really didn't start off as well as the first half did for me. I really did feel that a lot of the guys in the engine room had ran out of gas a little bit, and it was almost inevitable that the game was going to slip away from us. And the final 30-minute segment of the match, of course, as well, like, it was a write-off. But as I'm reflecting on this match, Luis Palma was had a couple of opportunities where there was some 50-50 opportunities where it was like maybe him, Gertruida, Timber and Rio, and they were like trying to get the ball out of a crowd and maybe try and get an attack on the go. And Palma did show some decent strength, and, you know, he made some okay decisions, never really gave the ball away of note. But in the first half, I didn't see him at all. I don't think he did anything of note. I don't think even our players looked to go and find him on the ball. It felt like every time we were trying to get Dyson every single time, which against this Hartman, if he was high up the pitch, cool. There's definitely opportunities there, but this guy's rapid as well. And that was a real, like, that's a 50-50 contest, you know. The whole idea, the whole theory of playing out from the back and possession football is that you're not putting the ball into the air for a coin toss situation of who wins the header, who wins the second ball. You're trying to control outcomes more and more. And going after Dyson Maeda versus Hartman relentlessly as we did felt like one of those situations that those smarter coaches and those technical philosophies would steer you away from after reading the match and changing maybe in the first half and doing something about that. But I really don't think Palma gave us anything really at all. I didn't see him trying, you know, do a guy for pace. I didn't really see him do anything other than try and shuffle in a few steps and take a shot. And against Feyenoord, this is the biggest opportunity we're going to have to qualify out of the group, is getting something in this match here. He really did feel, along with, I would probably put Odenholm, Gus, and I think the rest of the subs were kind of okay, but you could tell it was very firmly a nosebleed situation for them. They were playing at the very top level that they've ever probably played for in their life, you know, and that kind of showed out in the game as the game wore on more and more. The Champions League experience that the squad had from last season kind of diluted as the game went on, and the result went away from us, you know. So this is a game that we should not be coming into it, or we shouldn't be leaving it saying, oh, well, it was lessons learned and, you know, guys make mistakes and moving to a new level and all that kind of stuff, because this is Champions League. You know, we should be dreaming. We should be thinking about aiming for being in Europe after Christmas, and you don't get to learn on the job in that situation. It does feel like the recruitment business has been, like we've kind of spoke about on the channel a few times, a level below where it really should have been for coming into the Champions League. Now, listen, I'm all behind Palma. Even Lagerbielke, let's say, I think he had a great game up until obviously he gets sent off incorrectly. he did well enough for the most part. Scales, I thought, was brilliant. Taylor had his best game of the season. AJ was decent as well. But this is against Feyenoord. So how well are we going to do against Atletico and against Lazio is really the context that needs laid against it. Yeah, we could have beat Feyenoord with these guys. These guys were very close to beating Feyenoord away. And subsequently, you'd like to imagine if that did happen, you could beat them at home. And then, the board and the club and whatever would probably think, job done. We just about got that one over the line. And that's not the way it's panned out. We've got 2 men sent off. We've lost 2-0. We hopefully now are looking at the Feyenoord game thinking, right, we have to beat them. And then basically who finishes third is between us and them, you would probably think. Who gets the better head-to-head against Lazio and Atletico? And that is a real coin toss situation. You just got to cross your fingers and do your best in every single game and hope that when it's all said and done that we do finish third as a result, because dropping these points is definitely a huge, huge swing of favour in the towards Feyenoord, and there's a lot of ground to be caught up. We're now going to have Lager, BLK and Odenholm suspended for the next game. Odenholm, of course, I don't think is much of an issue, but Lager, BLK definitely could be. And then the next question is going to be on the squad with how far is Nat Phillips, how far away is Carter Vickers, and do we play Tomoki Iwata? He came on, of course, and I think he did kind of okay, considering it was 9 men and he was playing centre-back and whatever. Now, Feyenoord came into this game with a lot of confidence because they've been doing very, very well domestically. They've been scoring lots and lots of goals, and as regular viewers of the channel will remember, last season under Ange Postecoglou, again, that was a lot of the thing where we're trying to push the team towards is getting to that level where domestically you do run teams over, because then when you come into this situation, like Feyenoord didn't have that many opportunities in the game other than the ones that ended up in the back of the net, really, even the ones that went off for VAR. And really, for that first 30-minute segment when we had our best opportunities on the balance of play, the difference has been how clinical we've been, and domestically we've just not been scoring as much. So away to Livingston this weekend, and then we have a nice week off before we go back into league action and then Champions League again. Let's see a big result from the weekend, hopefully, and it'll be really interesting to see, does he rest anyone? Do we see Bernabé at the weekend? Does Palmer retain his place? And, a few other different question marks. We're really interested to hear your thoughts and feelings on the game last night, or depending on when you're watching this, match day 1 of the Champions League, in the comment section of the video down below. I hope you've enjoyed this one, guys. On screen there now some other stuff that we've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. And hail, hail.